Hi class, I told you I was going to make a video on the work for the second half of the week, which if we go back to our Monday announcement, and you'll see this actually in a Wednesday announcement, which I'm going to do next. And I'm running a little bit late because you'll be happy because I did all the library work for y'all. I mean, you still have to choose which articles you want, but I did all the legwork in finding articles for all 5 texts. I knew it would be difficult for some of the texts. Some of them were quite simple and had a lot, like the lottery and the Le Guin story, Omelas, and the Frost poem had enough. But I knew the Ray Bradbury story and the Vonnegut story would not have a lot. The reason why is that, so the scholarly world of English literature, literature studies, literature analysis, has for quite a long time considered things like science fiction and dystopian fiction genre work or popular work, and really for a long time has ignored critical review of works like Ray Bradbury and Kurt Vonnegut, with the exception of some of Vonnegut's big novels. But I think that's a mistake. I mean, I think that we, even things like detective fiction, other kinds of crime type fiction, romance, those are all valid forms of literature. And the line gets blurry when you say what's good and what isn't good critically. So anyway, I did find things for you to use, sources for you to use. So let me go ahead and talk about that aspect of it. So for your second half of the week, for Sunday, you have to choose, I want you to choose at least 2. You have to have 2. I would do 3. I would pick 3 out of the articles that I have. And the worksheet only has 2, but I recommend you do 3. You won't get have points taken off if you just have 2, but just for your own sake. So you want to find your sources and do your worksheet 3. So if we come over here to our literary criticism module, we look at what's due here on Sunday night. That is worksheet 3, which is the annotated bibliography source selection. And like I say, I strongly recommend you annotate 3 sources, just so that when you go to start writing your paper next week, and you'll need to start working on your paper by the end of next week, you have those choices, and you've already looked at them, you've already previewed them and annotated them and decided whether they're going to work for you. Okay, so if we come down here and we look at worksheet 3, let's see what it is. So this is due Sunday, and the purpose is to have you engage with your sources so you can write your annotated bibliography. If you have not done an annotated bibliography for 111, I'm going to cover that. We'll go over very briefly the PowerPoint about what an annotated bibliography is, and I will show you the sample so you know what it should look like. All right, so this is your worksheet, and it has you doing 2 sources, but like I say, I really think you should do 3. You're only going to get graded on 2, but this is just for your sake. So first thing you're going to put is the works cited page entry in MLA format. This is kind of what you've been working on with your primary sources. I usually give you that, and you'll see I actually gave you the works cited page entry. It's in Blackboard, so hanging indent really doesn't work, and you need to format in hanging indent. So you include that. Next, you need to read the article. And I will say some of the articles, quite a few of them in fact, only have a portion on your particular text. So the way you'll work summary for that is you will note that X article written by the author, naming the author, was an article that actually looked at a number of, say, Ray Bradbury's works, but contained a small portion of the overall article on the pedestrian. Then you summarize that portion of the article that deals with the pedestrian. Okay, so if that makes sense, you note in the summary that the article was really on a number of works, not just the pedestrian. Okay, so that if I looked at this, I would say, oh, okay, I see that. I see that this article is looking at the pedestrian as part of a series of works. But then you want to summarize that portion. And what is that? What is that critic saying in that summary about the pedestrian, or about Nothing Gold Can Stay, or whatever? What themes or elements, or what does it focus on critically? Okay, so again, how does this relate? It's got to relate back to what you're saying. And what kinds of evidence does the critic use to support their analysis? So what do they say? What do they pull from the story? Okay, then you ask, does this feel like a credible source, and why? A lot of times you're going to say, oh, because this was written as a thesis, like an honors thesis or a dissertation, or this was in a journal that clearly focuses on literature, or part of a chapter of a book on Ray Bradbury. Okay, then you ask, evaluate, was it good? Did it support their claims with evidence from the main text, from the primary source? And then how does it feel with other things you've looked at? Does it seem better, more reliable? And then finally, how is this going to be used in your essay? How do you intend to use this in your paper? Okay, so it's pretty straightforward annotation. You're going to have the works cited entry, which I already give you. You will summarize the portion, the whole article, or the portion of the article that relates to your story. Evaluate it, credibility, how much evidence did they use, how reliable, and then finally, how do you plan to use it in your paper? Okay, and then for source 2, and then like I said, I really would like you to do for 3. So this is your worksheet, and then finally, and this is something that you're going to use in your paper, this portion here won't be in your annotated bibliography, but you will use this later when you're writing your essay. You want to compare the two to each other. All right, so that is your work for Sunday night, is this worksheet. And basically, it's like the rough draft of your annotated bibliography. All right, let me show you your sources. If we come up here, I have a folder that I just added called Citations and Lit Crit Sources. We will click on this. I have a page essentially for each story, each text. I have the MLA citation, and again, note that there is no hanging indent used because it's Blackboard. You will need to change the font. This is an incorrect font. It's also not correctly formatted for hanging indent. So you will need to fix that in your works cited page and your annotated bibliography. So here is your citation, then here's the link to the article in your library. Okay? So it takes you to the article in the library so you can look and see what I saw when I was going through the databases. So I have a number of them on the lottery. You're going to have to go and decide which ones works best for you. So I've done 75% of the work for y'all. And now you need to just go. You still have some work to do because, as you can see, there are probably 8 or 9 sources on the lottery. You have to go see which one fits best for your paper. Pedestrian, as I said, was a little harder. I did find things. So I have a couple of links. And then I have some that are straight up PDFs. Okay? So these will actually download as a PDF for you to use. And again, I have the citation. This one here is an interesting one in that it's the original was in French, and I used ChatGPT, OpenAI to translate it for y'all because there wasn't much on the pedestrian, which is, it surprises me that we had the same issue last year when I did the Velt, Ray Bradbury's The Velt. But I did find, so we have 5 on the pedestrian. And remember, you need at least 2. So you want to do the same here. To be or not to be, similar problem to the pedestrian. So this one here happens to be an undergraduate honors thesis. So this is a student, not unlike y'all, who wrote an undergraduate honors thesis. Clearly the student went to UNC Chapel Hill, and it looked pretty good. And again, this is not just on Vonnegut, but it does have a section on Vonnegut. And then I have here's a couple of other PDFs here. Then this is a link to an article. Here's a PDF. So go through them, choose the ones. The ones who walk away from Omalos was a little bit easier. It was more like the lottery. So I have some links. In fact, they're all links for Omalos. And then finally, Nothing Gold Can Stay. I have 5 total for you. 3 PDFs and 2 article links. All right. So let me go back up and let's just do one quick review of annotated bibliography. So for students who don't know what an annotated bibliography is, let me click into this. This has got materials. So let's take a quick look at this PowerPoint. And we will, we'll just do it like this. It's easier. So when you say it's an annotated bibliography, we break down that term. Again, it's a list of your sources. That's bibliography. It relates to sources. And the annotated part relates to taking notes. Like when you annotate a text, you're taking notes on that text. So you are basically choosing your critical sources and making some notes on them. Okay? And those notes are for you. They're for me and anybody who reads your annotated bibliography who says, what's that source about? It's kind of like when you read the abstract of a source. So it's not unlike an abstract. Not the same, though. We'll learn that in our next module, but it's similar. Okay, so what does an annotated bibliography look like? For your purpose, you're going to have several things on it when you produce this final document. You're going to include the title, Annotated Bibliography. You will include your thesis statement. You'll be working on that thesis statement, and you're working on that now, and you'll include that on your annotated bibliography. Then you'll include your primary source. And remember, your primary source, a primary source is an original source that it's usually either a speech or a piece of literature or a document like the Declaration of Independence or a photograph taken by somebody. So it is an original creative source. oops. Okay, then you're going to skip down. Well, this will all be double spaced all the way through. Then you're going to have the subtitle secondary sources. You will have two. So you will have your first MLA citation, and again, these will be alphabetized as they always are. Then you will have your summary. This is all blocked off, as you can see. Then you'll have your evaluation, and then your reflection, and then you'll do the same for the second one. Okay? So again, what goes in the annotations, I kind of already went over that. Your worksheet prompts you through that. So about 2 to 3 sentences per item, roughly. You know, these don't have to be long. Summary, 2 or 3 sentences. What's the author's point? Same thing for evaluation, and then the reflection again. Why is this appropriate? Why is this a credible source? Why is it reliable? And how do you intend to use it? Okay. So again, summary, and it doesn't have to be as long as this. This is a little long. Evaluation, how is it credible? Why is it credible? And finally, the reflection, how do you intend to use it? What's the critic's analysis? What's my analysis? So how does it fit in? Okay. Again, why are we doing this? Because it lets you think about your sources before you start writing, and it really kind of forces you to ask yourself, how do your sources match with your particular thesis statement? All right, so let me get out of this. Final thing I want to show you is, here's the sample. If you want to know what it's going to look like once you put that worksheet stuff together, I have a sample. You want to pull the sample up. I will include this again. I will probably link to this in Monday's announcement, because your annotated bibliography, the final copy, is due a week from today. So I will link to this in probably Monday's announcement. So, title, remember MLA always has your header. Thesis statement, your primary source, this is the story you're analyzing, so it'll be, Bradbury or Le Guin or Vonnegut or whatever. Then your 2 secondary sources, and these need to be alphabetized. Here is the first MLA citation, summary, evaluation, reflection. Second MLA citation, summary, evaluation, and reflection. Super easy. All right, so be sure to email me if you have any questions on this.